Good morning, gun nuts. I'm Nathan, and this is the Reloading Press. So sorry about not having a weekly recap last week. Just got behind with different things. But let's go ahead and get cracking into it for this week. We have 5 different people. Actually, there's one more or 2 more, but 5 people today that are working on 6.5 Creedmoor work. So if you're interested in that round for its capacities, capabilities, possibilities for loading, now is the time to get into YouTube, get on the Reloaders Network, chat these people up with their processes and how they're going. Moozer, he's going into depth on brass prep for his 6.5 Creedmoor load development series. He's got a Savage semi-auto, so he's doing a semi-auto 6.5 Creedmoor build. So if you're interested in going that route, I highly recommend it. In addition to that, Johnny's Reloading Bench got in his Ballistic Advantage 20-inch barrel or upper for an AR-10 build in 6.5 Creedmoor, and he's just beginning to test on that. West Desert Shooter, on the other hand, he's doing a 6.5 Creedmoor load development series, and that's for a bolt-action rifle. Watching how these different loads are being developed depending on their application, because West Desert Shooter is going to be taking it out to, 3 miles or whatever it is that he's going to shoot. Where like a Moozer's going to be shooting at 350, 400, somewhere around there. And he's doing semi-auto versus bolt action. So you get to see some differences in the way that load development is happening depending on the application and the rifle. Bolt action reloading is also doing 6.5 Creedmoor. He was looking at the difference between full-length resizing versus neck sizing. So if this is something that you've kind of read about or had thoughts about, check out Bolt Action Reloading's video on that subject. RIEKS Reloading Bench, they have a Howa 1500 that they are working up a load for using H4350, and they come into a pretty good sweet spot with their load and get some pretty good accuracy, some really good standard deviations. So if you're looking for maybe a starting point, not necessarily a starting point, but something to work into a starting point, RIEKS Reloading Bench might have just given you that for their type of weapon, which is a heavy barreled, probably going to be a long range shooting kind of application, not necessarily a hunting application. Now for the rest of the world, Eagle Eye Shooting posts his pistol can challenge with a 100-yard offhand ridiculous shot. I've shot it 100 yards with handguns. I typically do most of my precision handgun work benched. He just does it offhand. It does an amazing job. Armament Axes shows off a Paired Ordnance 1911 competition pistol and changes some springs and has some really good success with it. I haven't had much experience operating or looking at real competition pistols with compensators and all that stuff on it. But I always found them really interesting. I just haven't had that chance. And this gives you an idea of kind of what they look like and how they function and the kind of maintenance that you need to look forward to doing. JCM 45 casts his first bullets and runs into his first hiccup and quickly kind of gets it solved and figures out what's happening. But it's interesting for especially beginning or even some seasoned casters and reloaders to see that there's things that you don't necessarily think of that are going to cause problems, and instead of trying to power through, which is one of the habits I have, is I beat my head against that wall until it crumbles, instead of stop and look and go, oh, the wall's only 4 feet wide, and go around it. JCM goes around the wall, and he posted another video kind of showing his success and how things are going. Willie Bulletman unboxes a package from the illustrious Kyle Lusk. Kind of just generally talks about some different things with his process and what he's having to go through right now, and he's possibly having to move, maybe not, things like that. So check in with Willie Bulletman, always great videos. KFW begins a series on the principles of marksmanship for handguns, and this is centered around a course that's been approved by the Department of Criminal Justice for the state of Kentucky for concealed carry. This is really interesting because even us seasoned shooters, we get into habits of shooting. And for instance, I'm a modified Weaver shooter. I always have been. I really don't see me changing unless I start shooting some kind of competition that really requires me to have a wide range of motion to my left. Then maybe moving into an isosceles, which would be a whole new learning experience. But that habit doesn't necessarily help. Now, hand position, things like that. I grew up revolvers, a cup and saucer guy. And trying to learn how to move my hands back into the right position to better be able to manage the handgun for a revolver has been a growing experience. He also talks about some of the other tendencies, milking, which is another one that I have a tendency to do, meaning that when I'm squeezing the trigger, I'm not just squeezing my finger, I'm squeezing my whole hand. I don't know why, it's just sometimes I catch myself doing it, and I'll look, and my fingertips on these fingers will be actually white. I'll be putting so much pressure on the gun. It's surprising how well I shoot, even though I have some of those habits or tendencies that come out from time to time. So KFW, I really appreciate that series, buddy. He's done one on like sight picture and alignment, and one on grip and stance, and I assume there's more to come. I really look forward to them. Thank you. Mr. Holster gives us an update on how Jack spends his 4th of July, and asks a question about the difference in grip frame between a GP100 standard and GP100 match champion. I don't have the answer to that, so guys, if you have both and there's a difference in the grip frame, go to Mr. Holster's channel and comment on his video and let him know what's going on with that. JH586 loads some 357 mags with his Lee Classic 4-hole turret press, using, and this was kind of interesting, he uses some cast bullets and some jacketed bullets, so he's kind of bouncing back and forth on that, but he uses that Shooter's World heavy pistol powder. I have no experience in this Shooter's World powder, it's just kind of coming out. I may have some use for it in the future, I don't know. It's so strange because I'm getting ready to start my own load development series into 32 mag, which I really kind of welcome some new powders into, some mid-range powders, and instead I'm going to Hodgdon and things that I know, and it's just, I don't know how to explain that except for just what you're familiar with and more comfortable with, I guess. Maybe I need to be a little bit more adventurous, I don't know. But anyway, take a look at that if you're wanting to know about the process, and he really kind of goes into depth with the priming system on that press, so take a look if that's something that you're having problems with or questions on. Josh BENWARE talks about gun belts. This is interesting for me because I don't know much about holsters and gun belts because I've never really carried for any amount of time. I carried when I was in the military, but that was with a shoulder slung holster, and it wasn't concealed, and and in that environment, it's just not something that if it fit and it worked, I didn't really question it. But now looking at possibly carrying more and doing a little bit more practicing with carrying and then doing a little bit of competition, Josh's video is really welcome because it shows the difference between a crappy belt that is calling itself a gun belt and a really good gun belt, and how that's going to be distributed differently on your body and create a very different wearing experience. ELVIS Ammo works on a Taurus that's having some trouble locking up. He changes the cylinder locking plunger, and the cool thing about that video is it's just very small or very kind of minor, basic type maintenance. And guys, sometimes that's needed. If you got a gun that's just not working quite like it used to, don't be afraid to order some parts for it. Now, I don't recommend everybody jumping to filing and pushing pins out. But if you can change some screws and things like that, I really recommend looking into that with some of your older guns that you've shot a lot. I mean, take them to a gunsmith if you have that option. But don't let them sit and become safe queens. They used to be your favorite guns for a reason. Fix them, get them back running right. But anyway, guys, I know this is short, but I appreciate it. I am not going to have a video coming out on Monday. I've got like 3 projects, irons in the fire, but nothing complete enough to make a video on. And I know that's crazy because I make videos that are like 8 parts long, over 2 months with just sections. So I'm trying to kind of condense some of the information. Like right now I'm building a die rack, and I don't want you guys to have to sit through 2-3 weeks of me building this thing. So I'm trying to kind of condense that into maybe one video. But anyway, so we're not going to have a video Monday. We may have one later in the week, I don't know. There may be some unboxings coming up, and there will definitely be a finishing video done on the reloading room as soon as I'm done with some of these little small details, kind of painting over what we've done in the past and where we're at now. But until then, stay safe, have fun. I'll see you when I see you. Later.